So the three wines that we have for the Nude Wine Club in January are an absolutely stunning Cava, really, really delicious, bone dry, crisp, and the right amount of weight and beautiful bubbles. Two reds and one from Piedmont. Most people are familiar with Barolo if they think of Piedmont. Loads of gems there, and you don't need to fork out 40 odd quid to have a great bottle of wine. And then finally, a bottle of Merlot, just to show you how good it can be and hopefully reintroduce you to one of the world's great grapes actually, and how it can be done really well. So the first wine we have is a Cava from Maria Casanovas. So this particular wine came to fame because it was the house pour in a restaurant called El Bulli, which was the best restaurant in the world for a record-breaking 5 times. It's since closed the last couple of years. But if it's good enough for the best restaurant in the world, it's good enough for me, definitely. Hopefully it's good enough for you guys. It's a really particular style here, and there's a few things to note on the label. It says Brut Nature. So nature is code for bone dry. No additive, normally less than 3 grams per litre of sugar. So if you're looking for a sparkling wine, look for the word nature, and then you know it's right. And for me anyway, what's really important about knowing that something is dry is that you don't put sugar on your steak, you don't put sugar on your smoked salmon, you don't put sugar on your canapes, or your whatever you might be having. You put salt, so having a dry sparkling wine means it'll pair really well with whatever you're going to have with it, or if you're just having it by itself. It's a really delicious glass of wine. There are 3 grapes that go into this particular one, and it's very similar to if you were to have a bottle of champagne and you see the phrase blanc de blanc, which translates as white of white. Most champagnes or sparkling wine styles are a mixture of red and white grapes, and they're blended together, and you don't end up with a pink wine, you end up with a white wine. There's no skin contact, but it's more to do with depth of flavour. When you have a sparkling wine that's only white grapes, what you get is a kind of a fine, elegant, lighter style of wine, and you'll certainly taste it when you try this particular one. When you have a champagne that's blanc de blanc, it's normally all Chardonnay, that's the grape for champagne. With Cava, the grapes here are Macabeo, Xarel·lo and Parellada. Parellada probably being the highest quality grape there. Xarel·lo makes kind of a chewier, adds a little bit of body, and Macabeo tends to be a little bit more floral. It's a really lovely glass of wine, and how, I suppose champagne is made, or Cava is made, compared to Prosecco, which is, I suppose, when you think of the affordable sparkling wines. Cava is made the same style as champagne style. So the fermentation happens in the bottle, and what happens is when a wine is fermenting, it's a really aggressive process. It looks like a kettle boiling. Normally when you're making a bottle or you're making a tank of wine, you leave the lid off and you let all the bubbles go out, all the gases go out. When you want to make something sparkling, like a sparkling wine, what they do is they put the juice, the wine, so it's made first as wine, into the bottle. They add a little bit of yeast and a little bit of sugar, and they seal it. So it ferments again. And there's nowhere for the gases to go, so they go back inside the bottle. So each bottle is made individually. It's kind of like a microbrew. Extremely high quality. If you think of going to the effort of making an individual bottles of wine, that's kind of why the price tends to be a little bit more. They tend to be a little bit higher in price point. Organic, 11.5% alcohol, absolutely delicious, and I hope you drink it at the weekend and celebrate something. I know it's January and it's easy to be thinking, okay, what am I doing? I feel a bit blue. Am I doing dry January? Should I be going to the gym? Should I be going out for a walk? On Saturday night, just crack it open and enjoy a really nice glass of bubbles, and hopefully it'll give you a taste for how great Cava can be. The next wine, or the next 2 wines, are both red, and we chose to go with red to complement the sparkling wine just because it's colder. It's a real, what am I going to drink on a Saturday evening? The curtains are drawn, the blinds are closed, the fire's on, the heating's on. It's cold. I want to have something warm and rich and hearty. So we have 2 different options. The lighter one of the 2 is the Ottavio Rube Rosso, and this particular one is from Piedmont, so northern Italy. And if you think of Italy, like a leg, you're kind of looking at up near the bum cheek, closer to France than you would be to Croatia. Saying that, the grapes in this wine are Croatina, which hails from, I think it means little Croatian girl, and another grape called Dolcetto. So normally if you're thinking of wines from Piedmont, you're thinking super premium, Barolos, Langhe Nebbiolos, you know, the kind of €35 plus price point, special occasion, aspiration end of the wine list. And then there's a couple of other wines that you might be familiar with, Barbera d'Asti, Barbera d'Alba, and Dolcetto. It's really unusual to see the grape Croatina, which is often found in in Argentina under the name Bernarda. This one is a blend of Croatina and Dolcetto. And Croatina is, although it's dark and juicy, it has low acidity. So it's just really kind of soft and mouth coating and beautiful. It's got these kind of dark plummy flavours. And Dolcetto as a grape translates as little sweet one. Now, not that the grapes are sweet or that the wine is sweet, but the grapes have this lovely kind of sweet and sour cherry fruit flavour. And Dolcetto tends to be one of the more full-bodied grapes coming out of the Piedmont region. And the blend of this one, it's really exciting. And when you look at the label, it's really, we're delighted to be able to put it in, because you look at the label and you think, okay, I don't understand it, I don't know what it is, I don't know where it comes from, what does it even mean? I'll go straight for something I've had before, I can pronounce, or that I'm more comfortable with. So we hope when you try this that you'll be converted to trying something a little bit different. Soft, juicy, kind of like plum, cherry, blackcurranty flavours in it, a little bit of spice. But I think probably the more notable thing about it is that it's just really soft. It's not, and people say to me a lot, bitey, and whatever that might mean to you. It's just a really soft, mouth-coating glass of wine. Again, organically farmed. And in terms of what would you pair it with, it's one of those wines that would go really well with like a stew or a casserole, or if you're going to have like meat and cheese boards, some salamis. There's a little bit of spiciness to it, but it's soft and easy to drink and perfect without food. So if you're thinking you're going to have a movie night on that freezing cold Friday or Saturday evening, this is the perfect wine to have with some nibbles, and it's gorgeous and easy to drink. And I think what's important to take away from it is, yes, the label can be confusing, be a little bit braver. When you look at the back of this label, I mean, really, it's nearly impossible to decipher what's going to be on it. You have to get out your phone and Google it, so I'm hoping that you just love it. And feel a little bit impassioned about shopping from or going and looking in the Piedmont section, and not just being, you know, I suppose looking at those more expensive wines. Shop around a little bit, because the value for money is excellent when you kind of move away from those mainstays. Absolutely gorgeous. And last, but by no means least, we have this fabulous bottle of Merlot. And we kind of debated about putting a single varietal Merlot on the list on the wine, you know, on the wine shop online. Who would buy it? Does anyone like Merlot? The film Sideways gave Merlot such a bad reputation, that was 20 odd years ago, that most people kind of shy away from it, really. And it's actually one of the best grapes. It has huge potential, huge aging potential, great quality, does really well when made well. If you've had a Merlot before, the chances are you've either had an Australian Merlot or a Chilean Merlot, and the style can be quite perfected and kind of simplified a little bit. And in actual fact, Merlot is one of the primary grapes that goes into a bottle of Bordeaux. So it's high quality, it's affiliated with the best quality, or one of the best regions. I know everyone can argue that it could be Rhone or Champagne or Italy somewhere. But it's a very high quality grape. It's one of the most widely planted in the world. If not, I think Merlot is the most widely planted grape in France as it stands. So what this one particular one tastes like, so it's from the south of France, the southern Rhone Valley. The further southern Rhone, it's really, really hot. That's where you're kind of going to get your Chateauneuf de Papes and those big, rich, ripe wines. And you can certainly taste that in the wine, that it's from a hot place. It's big, mouth-filling, rich glass of wine. And has all these beautiful things that actually what makes Merlot great. Chocolate, mocha, caramel, brambly flavours, a little bit of spice. It's really, really lovely. And these particular producers, they actually produce Côte de Rhone and Rhone wine. So they specialise in Syrah and Grenache and Chateauneuf du Pape, those kind of big, beefy, spicier wines. And you can see the influence in this particular bottle. What I would just say is a couple of things on the back of the bottle here that are worth noting that are really helpful. Demeter on the back left corner, that is a certification that's a European certification for biodynamically farmed grapes. And then on the right hand side, probably one you might be familiar with at this stage, which is the symbol for organically farmed grapes. So biodynamic, it's kind of like organic on steroids. Organic means no chemicals are to be used in the vineyard. Biodynamic is a biodiverse polyculture approach to the vineyard, whereby rather than using a chemical or hoping for nature to do its best, you might introduce another pest to combat something else. So you introduce more life into the vineyard to combat any problems that might come along. Typically what happens when you have something that's farmed biodynamically, the grapes get so much love. If you're a gardener, and if you're going to spray something, you need one human to spray the garden or to spray the vineyard in a plane, on a tractor. They don't need to look at the individual grapes or the bunches. When you don't have the luxury of chemicals and you need humans to go and walk the vines and look at the plants, look at the grapes, look at the fruit, what you tend to have is a lot of energy in the grapes, very high quality, really good value for money, certainly in what you're going to get. They tend to be a little bit more expensive, but huge depth of flavour in them. And when you taste this Merlot, I feel like you'll get that. In terms of pairing it with a little bit of food, it's definitely the bigger of the two wines. So what I would do is if you're going to have some kind of rich, hearty red meat, some steak, some lamb, it's definitely able to work really well with and handle those big, rich flavours. So don't be afraid of Merlot, and certainly this one, they've obviously put Merlot on the label, which is really unusual because people tend to avoid. They don't want to tell you you're having a Merlot. It's a bit like they don't want to tell you you're having a Chardonnay in case they scare you off it. But it's a really gorgeous glass of wine, and definitely one for those cold evenings with a lovely bit of food. I would definitely have this one with food, whereas the middle red, with or without food is okay. Hope you enjoy all the wines.